regular session, March 18th, 2015. If you'd please silence or shut off your cell phones, appreciate it. And please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome everybody. Denise, deletions or additions to the agenda at this time?
I have 2 additions, meeting minutes and equipment shed quote from the roadmaster.
Okay.
Potentially later in the meeting, I may have information on the airport and or.
Okay, if that comes forward, we'll bring that out at that time. Commissioner Schoen, you're good with the agenda?
Yep.
First item, public comment. I believe, Steve, do you have any public comment?
I just wanted to share with you guys, the first full week of May is the National Corrections Employees Week. It's a national time to honor correctional employees. Our deputy director, Ms. Kim Brokamp, will be down here on May 6th to attend our awards ceremony. Now, unofficially this morning, but we'll officially invite the commissioners if they can attend and like to. And then she'll be speaking at Rotary that day. So just want to let you guys know that, and it'd be great if you could either make it to the award ceremony or possibly to Rotary. If you're not a Rotarian like Mr. Kestner, I'd be happy to invite you and get you a chance to meet Ms. Brokamp.
Great.
Yep.
What about the Lions? I may be a Lions fan.
That's okay, you can come to Rotary too.
I'll get fined, won't I?
Possibly.
Okay, that's May 6th, and we'll see a formal
Yep.
invitation at that
Yep.
time. Okay, and that week, the first week is National
Corrections Employee Week.
It's national, not state, it's national.
Correct. Yep.
Very good. Any other public comment? Frank, anything this week?
I hope you missed me as much as I missed you.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here, Frank. All right. So we're a little ahead of schedule. We have a time item, so going to go down to some of the other items. I'm going to skip down to elected officials compensation review committee member. Get that out of the way. We had an opening on our compensation review committee. It was advertised, it was sent out, and there was only one person that showed interest. The person that showed interest has been the other elected officials, and our HR person has done the research necessary. So at this time, I'd entertain a motion for that person to be appointed.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion. Motion's been made and seconded to appoint Melissa Sheen to the compensation review committee. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. We may get through the whole agenda before we get through DEQ.
I don't think so.
Let's jump down to the land sale order revised. We have foreclosed land sale that's going to be in June. That's already been, the resolution's already been done, I believe, or the order's already been done. This is for some additional properties that have been on the county foreclosure list that haven't been sold for varies from different years. They've been reviewed, looked at, and so we're gonna add these to the sale in June. So I would, and there's a list of properties. Entertain the motion.
I'll make the motion that we add these properties that are attached to our schedule to the land sale.
I'll second the motion. Motion is in the matter of the sale of properties acquired by Lake County, order for sales of county properties. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Still have 5 minutes. Road naming, Bolster Farms Lane recommendation. I don't believe we have to have Darwin here. And Commissioner, if I could get you to just give a little overview on that. We went through a hearing process, and I wasn't at the meeting Christmas holidays recently.
Yeah.
To give quick overview.
We have 3 roads up in the north end of the county in the Christmas Valley area that needed to be named, and we held our last hearing up there with the intent of getting input from the community to make sure that the names fit with what they historically were. And there was one, Oster Farms, and now it's called Lane, that was in question, and we ended up naming 2 of the names based upon the recommendation of the planning director, and there was no opposition to that in the community, and held off on the other one until our roadmaster had contact with the Osters as well as our planning director, and so it's been agreed upon that that's the name we should go with.
Okay, so we would need to do that by motion,
Yeah.
okay?
Mr. Bailey, you know, we closed the hearing, did that, and said we would take care of it in this meeting.
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah, I'll make the motion that we name the other road in question. It's the furthest north road of the 3 roads discussed, Oster Farm, Lane.
I'll second the motion. Motion's been made and seconded to have the name be Oster Farm Lane. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Do we have to sign anything on that, Denise, or is it just,
He has not gotten it to me yet.
okay? All right. And so, thank you. I don't know.
Without meeting minutes.
The cancellation of property, delinquent property tax.
Without the meeting minutes.
Hey, yeah, that's good, let's go down. We'll do the meeting minutes. We have 2 sets. We have February 18th, and we have
17th and 18th.
17th and 18th of February. I'll make a motion to approve February 17th and 18th as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes of February 17th and 18th. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay.
You know, we might want to point out, just being facetious, that the pre-meeting to these.
Work session.
Work session lasted till about 4:30 yesterday, so it's not like we're not actually discussing this thing.
Oh, wow.
And I do need to mention that Commissioner Kestner is representing us in a different place in the state, so he's not here today. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and ask DEQ to come forward. We're a little bit ahead, but it's an informational one, so you can move seats up, or all one, or all 3 would be.
fine.
Kelly, you're fine.
Fine right here.
There you now.
And welcome, thanks
Yes,
for
welcome.
coming, we appreciate it.
Thanks for having us. So, thank you again for having us, it's good to see you. We're just, Linda and I and Kelly are making a tour in this part of the state, and so we're meeting with cities and counties and what we'd like to do. We don't have any bad news to deliver, so instead, we're gonna ask you if you have issues, concerns, or subjects you'd like to talk with us about. And then if we have that conversation, then Linda, I think, has a couple maybe things to talk about. And we'd like to hear about the natural gas coming in or possibilities.
Okay, well, there's, you put that together as if we had any complaints. Maybe this will sound out of the ordinary, maybe we have some compliments coming in.
Oh. That only takes one page, I have a book for complaints.
Yeah, yeah, no, as we all talked, Red Rock possibly coming into Lakeview area, I wasn't able to attend the meeting the other day, that evening, but I've heard very positive in the way DEQ brings things forward on the admissions and through the permitting process and the professionalism that comes through, so that the people that ask the questions, their questions get answered. Appreciate that. So I wanted to make sure and acknowledge that. I wasn't at the meeting, but I've had some people tell me it went very well. So appreciate that. The other thing, and I don't want to get into the woods too deep on it, but working with Linda and others on our landfill and looking for a small landfill exemption. And it's been a pleasure to work with DEQ, and they've been very much receptive at working with us. We're in the early process of it. Rick is right in the middle of getting things together, and we're very excited to be able to look at that. It's so important. I can't say enough how important it is in these rural areas where we don't have the population and the tonnage in our landfills to be able to have DEQ at the table and work with us, because of our constituents can't afford what it costs to do certain things. We don't want to do anything that's not in compliance. We want to make everything right and do it right, but we have to be able to look at all kinds of alternatives. So we really appreciate that. And
Well, the beauty of government being able, because that doesn't happen all the time, to look at the situation out there and recognize that not only do we want to do the right thing for the environment, but you all do too. And that's, those parties coming together on that is outstanding.
And we appreciate the partnership too, and I know we wrote down a fairly detailed letter that will hopefully help. And certainly not, I mean, if you look at it from an outsider, it could look like a lot of requirements, and it is, but it's, I think, helpful to have it in writing so you can plan for that as one of your options. So we appreciate the conversation and look forward to helping you.
and we appreciate it very much. And as commissioners, we're I think sort of loosely, we're on the fringe of it. Rick's in the trenches, and he's the one we rely on that. And so, you know, there'll be a lot of work to go forward. I know we talked a little bit, we'll probably get on a regular schedule for some bi-weekly calls, something like that, so we can coordinate that with Rick and whoever needs to, Melissa and you or whoever. And so we appreciate that.
Well, I was gonna say that I appreciate the work that Rick has done and has done for years, and that Commissioner Winters has done in that. And Joe Gingrich, I've only met Joe once and just really enjoyed meeting with him and his down-to-earth common sense.
Our staff have pledged to work with Lake County and Rick specifically every step along the way to make sure we're taking the right path, making the right decision. And this will help the county justify the route they're taking by having great documentation about the analysis of the soils and the location, about the financial analysis, while looking at other options too. It'll just help justify the decisions down the road. And, you know, we want to set up at least bi-weekly, maybe up front as you start getting your elbows into the deep analysis. We can talk anytime with you. So don't feel like you're limited to just a check-in time. But we just want to make sure that you guys.
Well, if you don't mind, I'm gonna change gears just a little bit. We do care about, Kelly's been heavily involved in that, the air quality.
Absolutely, we'd love to talk air quality.
Well,
and
Linda, I think what's key is that there's many facets. We're trying to look at the bigger vision. I think the DEQ's trying to look at the bigger vision.
Mhm.
You know, not all of our, when we monitor it, is just a snapshot of the year. And not all of our bad air quality comes from wood stoves
Mhm.
and only during the winter, you know. So as it relates to Red Rock Biofuel and the work that DEQ's doing on that with that company and the opportunity to clean up a huge mess that creates an awful lot of problems with the quality of our air is tremendous. Commissioner Winters' work, and he'll speak to that on, because you ask about the natural gas, and we look at that as an unbelievable opportunity for air quality that we don't otherwise have, other than just wood stove replacements or shutting off wood burning. I don't want to be quoted on that because we're not in that business, but I mean, as far as alternatives to people heating, and this is gonna be a tremendous one, but also our economic growth as a result of that. So there's so many things at play that fit together and are beneficial for a lot of different things. So I'll let you go ahead with it.
Yeah, well, the wood stove, natural gas, air quality, all plays together. And throw geothermal in there. We're doing everything as a community in the Lakeview area here to try to make it better. The natural gas in Red Rock, what can be talked about is that we know that it'll be to the outskirts of the Lakeview area, which that's quite a cost at 3 miles. The Red Rock will take care of that cost to get it to there. There will be capacity from there to bring it on up. The ultimate plan would be to get it all the way to Cornerstone, which is in need. They burn roughly 300,000 gallons of waste oil a year. So that would be great to get it there and get it throughout the town. This makes it much more of an opportunity for a utility to come in whenever it's that close. And if there's going to be, and there will be extra capacity there. So very excited about that. The wood stove side of it is, as people, if they decide to hook up to natural gas, even if it's a secondary heat, this would help with our air quality. And so very excited about that.
We really appreciate all that the community has done to participate with us, and it's, you know, it's really to their benefit too, to have better air quality, but it's been a lot of work, but it's impressive, so we thank you for all the work, and thank the regional
Jenny,
solution.
in that vein, and just going back to the economics part of it, you know, Commissioner Winters mentioned 300,000 gallons of waste oil at so much per gallon versus natural gas and the high heat. And the backhaul I see as I live in Paisley, each and every day of that product that can't be manufactured here, that they want to manufacture, the 10 to 12 jobs that they've been on record as saying they'd like to add to plant expansion, just one aspect of it. I mean,
What an
there's a lot of,
opportunity to bring in other businesses too.
yeah.
Makes it very attractive for the Lakeview area. You ask complaints, I guess the only, the air quality is the biggest challenge for any of us, for our constituents. The education side of it, I do it myself. I know Commissioner Shalom does as much as we can. People need to realize that they can still have a wood stove, and there's roughly 10 days a year that they need to use an alternative heat source. And it's generally not all 10 days in a row. And a lot of people say, well, it costs so much money to run electric or whatever. And yes, it does. It does. But the air quality and working this way, as soon as the education keeps going out there, is that yes, you can still have your wood stove. You can still burn. It's just on the red days, would you please use your alternative source? And getting that education out there. And it's going to take more than 1 year. It's going to take some time for people to latch onto that. So that's not really a complaint, that's just what's real. Whenever you're into a community, that wood stove has been what they've used forever. And so the educational side of it, and I know Kelly, we've worked on it, the town worked on it a whole bunch, but we can never get enough out there.
So we need to keep at it.
Yeah, you know, we're not taking wood stoves away, we're not shutting down wood stoves. It is, get certified when you can on red days. If you use alternative source, it's not red day, use your stove, enjoy it. And that's important for people to understand. And so that's, the education side is what we all have to just continue on.
Well, and it's also, I mean, as a former wood stove owner, and I live in Pendleton, it's a different heat. I still miss, I have electric heat now, and it's not as warm as wood stove, so it isn't just, and it's the ambiance of it too, so it's a nice thing, but I appreciate that we need to continue to talk about, we're not taking them away.
Right.
And to that effort, and sort of this cultural shift and understanding of our environment with our heating use, our public information officer, you know him, Greg Sweeland, he is available to help draft articles to put in the newspaper if they're open to that. Just anything to help explain, you know, the importance of air quality, the bits that come off of burning wood that affect our health, what options are. He loves writing articles, education like that, and he's free to you to use. So do not hesitate if you want to tap into that.
Yeah, I'll go into much more contentious within the borders of the city
Sure.
limits, so
Yep.
that information needs to be for the town and the county also.
Yeah.
We will
Urban-
meet with the
urban
city
growth
later
boundary.
and we'll,
Yeah, urban growth boundary is very important, that's the county, that's our part.
so we'd like to thank the county for your efforts on behalf of that part of the county that has worked with DEQ and EPA on the PM Advance program. It was a brave and bold move to be proactive and go for the PM Advance program. We've never done that in Oregon, but what it did was it kept you out of being designated non-attainment. And it was proactive, and I'm holding the town and the community and the county area up as a model entity for having taken proactive action. We just haven't seen that before, and I want to thank you for taking that responsibility seriously.
Well, Linda, we appreciate that, and without looking too much in a rearview mirror backwards, but it is kind of a comment that I think needs to be made, especially with you and Joni here and Kelly. We were very concerned, and I think was very fortunate that the ground was held when this first discussion started to happen on a much wider reach of areas that we do not believe are affecting the air quality in the town of Lakeview and that monitoring station. So it wasn't all a bed of roses as we went through that process. And I think we believe we've hit the right balance. It, will probably need to be reviewed, but it definitely wasn't the hundreds and hundreds of square miles of area that would have impacted people needlessly.
And not where we weren't designated non-compliant, as we're trying to get natural gas and everything here, we're more attractive to be able to entice light industry or industry here, or even just businesses, because once you get into that non-attainment, the businesses are the ones that pay, are the industries here. So being proactive is for the health of our community in many ways other than just their quality needs for our business and our industries that are here too. So that's one reason why we were proactive. Rural communities, one sawmill left.
It's a good example for us to be able to take to other communities that are mirroring the same situation, to have somebody live in it. It's just nice to be able to say, well, Lakeview has gone through this, because it does create a lot of fear.
Oh, yes. And we haven't got through all of this. Winter was a pretty interesting time, actually. I got a few more phone calls myself, as a matter of fact. So, anyways, anything else? Is that enough? That's about what I can talk about on natural gas.
Yeah.
I guess what I could say through Regional Solutions, do have a placeholder for $1 million. Dollars come available for the extension of the natural gas on up into the Lakeview area. We, Regional Solutions Coordinator and a few of us met a week ago or whatever. We're actually meeting tomorrow, which I'm going to miss, but to reassure that we're there, as we're waiting on Red Rock and all this, we're right there on the edge of whether that dollar should be held for that or if they should be released someplace else. Right now, we as a team seem to believe that it's still good to hold them there and that the project looks like we're going to go forward. So that's a very positive thing whenever you get that kind of support also through the Regional Solutions and through, that's a Lake Klamath combination. So that's important to us too. And that's about all I have on natural gas, unless you have questions.
You did get a briefing, did you not, from our coordinator Susanna Gilbert for Regional Solutions on the money that's coming out, the timing of the money that's coming out for the wood stove replacements?
Yes.
I don't know the actual timing, just that we're getting it, just 750,000.
750,000 here and 750,000 in Klamath County, or to be used in the non-attainment area over there. And it will be stove replacements leaning toward non-wood heating systems as replacements. not in all instances, but in trying to lean toward that to make the most emission reduction possible. And that should the finalizing contract is being done this month, and then there will be a 30-day period where SCOED will be working and the Regional Solutions team will be working heavily with the local governments to get a very detailed scope of work. And then from there, the money will start being able to be used from the program. So it'll be a couple months before the money actually hits the ground, but you'll probably be, and probably Commissioner Kestner will be wrapped into the final scope of work discussions too.
It's a great thing. The only little bit of negative is it triggered the bully wages because of I believe the federal association, I'm not, but anyways, it triggered, so it may not go quite as far as we wanted it to, but it's still gonna go a long ways. But that's what it is whenever you get these types of dollars, there's strings and things attached, so we're very fortunate to get them, very fortunate. Where are you guys going next?
City.
To here in
Going
Lakeview?
to Paisley?
No, town.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Town,
Yeah, there's
You
only
don't
one,
have-
there's only one city in Lake
You
County.
don't have air quality problems in Paisley.
We don't,
You
no,
don't.
but
Yeah, but-
Joni said city,
Yeah.
so.
You have a noise problem with the geothermal.
Yes, noise pollution.
Oh.
That's still an issue?
Well, not really, because they're changing out some equipment, or they did change it out. They're hoping to, it's all ready to go. And they were having a vibration problem that not only caused noise, but it didn't run right.
Wow.
And I know Surprise Valley Electric and the landowners really want to get it going, because it's ready to roll.
We're all sort of anxious too. I want to know how noisy it is for
Yeah,
Commissioner down on
I
Mill
live
Street.
right down below it.
So you'll have an in-person update on how the noise is
Pardon me?
then? You'll get an update on how the noise is.
Oh, yes.
My wife will ensure that it doesn't last for more than a couple hours, or it'll get taken apart or something. Because it is noisy.
They're looking at all the noise side of it and doing some noise reduction.
They're gonna
Last
actually,
we toured it.
put in noise reduction facade and everything, but first they've gotta get it running right, so.
Yep.
All righty. Thank you very much.
Thank you ladies
Thank
very
you.
much.
Good to see you.
Tell the folks over at the town, hello.
Okay.
All right, we'll move on through our agenda. The next thing we're going to do is oil bid recommendations from Rick. These, would you mind grabbing the sheriff, and we'll do the under sheriff right after that, if you don't mind?
You know, waiting for new games to get back or?
Yeah, she has recording, but it'd be nice. That way the sheriff can be here, he has to be here. I thought there might be more updates from the program from UQ.
Yeah.
So Rick, we have, whenever Denise gets back, is there any new information or what we had yesterday?
No, there isn't. I mean, for the public, I can go back over it real quick in the front here, what we're doing.
Okay.
Every year at this time, we put out 2 quotes for our paving overlay asphalt oil and chip sealing oil. And the paving oil is like a 4-inch lift versus a 3/4 to a 1/2-inch lift. Chip seal's like painting a house. You're just trying to keep the weather out of the cracks and going down and freezing. So anyway, this year we sent them out, and we have a new company that came on board over in White City called Western Emulsions, and they are claiming that they can make CMS 2S, and I would like to just give them the invitation to bring some product over and try it and see if it's a proven product, for testing. And but I would want to lean still to stay with Idaho Asphalt, where their product's the only one that's been working the last 5 or 6 years. With the chip seals and, if they had the chip seal and the overlay oil, the oils are compatible to each other, they're kind of more like a cousin. And because a lot of people make the oils different than other companies on the canyons and anions and all that stuff for the positive and the minus. So it's a best if you can keep your same company in both products. Western and Idaho were the only two bidded, and I recommend to go with Idaho. And then on the CRS-2P chip sealing oil, it's kind of the same thing. These guys are $6.30 a piece difference on the top to low bid. Idaho is on their bid all or none. So with the CMS-2S kind of got us, you know, part of our work, we'll have to kind of stay with Idaho. There's not a savings of $2,000 over the 800 ton on the CRS-2P. I did talk to Albina. They understood the situation. They didn't have a problem, and I think Western, he's supposed to call me today, and he knows that we have to, he calls it, get comfortable with you, so I don't think we'll get any protest on this or anything, especially where we're gonna test our product and see how it works.
Mr. Bailey.
Rick and I have discussed this, and you're totally within your authority to go with his recommendation.
Okay.
Entertain a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that the quotes before us that we accept for both the CMS 2S and CRS 2P, the chip seal from Idaho Asphalt.
I'll second the motion. Motion is to accept the quotes from Idaho Asphalt on CMS 2S and CRS 2P. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Sheriff Taylor, sir, we'll get you in and out of here real fast.
Well, thank you, Brent.
I know you're very busy. Step on up, please, sir. We'll come back to you, Rick, in just a minute. Sheriff takes precedence, how you like that?
You bet.
I don't like that. Sheriff Taylor has worked with myself, HR, the other two commissioners, and gave us an update yesterday of the structure that he is wanting to put in place in the sheriff's department. And part of the structure that he would like to do is have an undersheriff position, and that takes a motion by the Board of Commissioners to create that position. And so that's where we're at. I don't know if you would like to add anything to that, Sheriff, if I gave a good enough overview or not.
Yeah, I think I'm comfortable with how we covered it yesterday.
Okay. So, go ahead, sir.
Well, just the one thing I didn't ask yesterday is when do you intend to make this official in your department?
As soon as possible. As far as the outlay is the monetary amount, we can recover, or not recover, but we can use what we need with this budget cycle until we go into the next budget cycle. I believe that the increase in pay is approximately 6% of his total salary.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to create the position of undersheriff as presented by HR and our sheriff.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. Further discussion. You've worked on your budget along with HR and with our budget people. You're aware of where it'll take you. And so we never talked about that much yesterday, but we talked individually and he just mentioned it. Yes, we're good. Other question is I know that once you appoint or create this position, there's usually sometimes a ceremony or anything like that, or putting on the star. Is that anything that you're going to do individually, or you want to do that in a work session or anything?
I would like to do that in a work session. I think that's something that he should be publicly recognized for.
Okay, so we haven't talked too much about that, but sort of hit, I'm one of those hit you off the cuff sometimes, sure.
Well, and since all of our meetings are significantly recorded and covered, I think we need to just make sure we have total clarification that as you're creating the new job description and title, it's more or less replacing an existing job.
Well, there is no existing,
Well, a position, excuse me, not job, but position.
well, he's gonna have collateral duties, as outlined in the job description. However, my plan is, once the corporal positions are made, if they are made, they will assume some of the lieutenant's responsibilities at that point.
Yeah. Well, maybe I phrased it wrong, we're not adding another person.
There you
We are
go.
not adding another person.
That's it.
It took me a second to catch up with
Yeah,
myself.
I should have just said that up front. It's just for the record, Sheriff. We know that, but just,
Normally, if you make a new position, you would add another position, but with our budget constraints, this is just an added responsibility with collateral duties. There will not be another added position.
thank you. That'll save a lot of questions for you later.
Okay.
And me.
Any more discussion?
No,
All in favor?
I,
Aye. Motion carries.
sorry
Thank you,
about how
Sheriff.
I read that.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. Thank you very much.
Just
Thank
get with
you.
Denise when it comes time for the presentation.
Yes.
We appreciate that.
Okay.
Are good to schedule with her?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay,
Pleasure.
Rick, we're gonna jump back down to you. We have, equipment shed quote.
Yes, and I apologize, I didn't get this out to you on the agenda. What happened yesterday morning, one of my employees that's working on the project alerted me to the fact that if we go much further holding off on this, the prices will go up for material.
Okay.
So I said, well, let me take it up there and run it by you. We've been talking about this for a couple of years since we lost the incubator space, so that some of our heavy equipment, like our screen, we'd like to get in some sort of shed. I mean, they last longer, and the belts and all the rubber and the tires. So it's just a pole barn structure is all it is. And we got 4 bids. Oregon pole structure, $49,500. Central Oregon pole building, $73,967. Jasco construction, $47,984. American Steel building, $59,745. And we would recommend to go with the low quote on this.
And they're responsible for all building permits, engineering to our standards, building permits and all that.
They
stuff.
have to come up with the engineering, but I think that we were gonna do the permit.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion that we approve, in your recommending Jasco, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the quote from Jasco Construction of $47,984.
I'll second the motion. The motion's been made and seconded to accept the quote from Jasco Construction, $47,984. Further discussion?
Well, I didn't ask Mr. Baylor, but I think he's,
Always totally fine before.
You have budgeted, this is budgeted within your
Yeah.
budget. All in favor?
fine.
Aye, motion carries. All right. 9:45, we still got time. We're down to courthouse space.
Before we go there, do you mind, Commissioner, if we go with the delinquent taxes? Or is that something?
Oh, I marked that off whenever you, yes, I'm sorry, thank you. Cancellation of delinquent personal property tax proposal. Thank you, Commissioner.
Mhm.
I've already checked that off. And
Mr. Bailey's.
Mr. Bailey, we have 2 petitions.
I was glad that he presided well.
And 2 orders is what it says on the front.
There's actually 2 petition, or 2
2 petitions and 2 orders, Denise?
That is correct. Mr. Bailey has signed his side.
Have you found the orders yet?
Yeah.
They're marked in purple.
Marked in purple. So we need to do these individually by resolution and by order.
Yes.
Is everything you reviewed in here, Mr. Bailey, is appropriate and okay to do?
This is totally routine and the amounts are so small that it's the right process to go forward and clean this up.
You don't need the purple tab. You want me to? I'll make a motion in the matter of cancellation of delinquent personal property tax. And it doesn't have an order number on it. Is it supposed to have an order number? I'm so confused.
Do you want to hold off and I'll run down this with it?
We might, the petition doesn't have a number either. Mr. Bailey, do these need to be numbered like a resolution?
Well, they should, yes.
Okay.
I thought they were actually identified by the individuals.
You know what, we're gonna take a 5-minute break, come back at our 9:45, which is, data security, and let Denise go check on it. We're gonna take a 5-minute break.
10:45?
10:45, if I say 9:45, we got lots of time.
Yeah.
at 12 minutes to 11. And we're going to go ahead and go through the other part of our agenda and come back to the data security plan. So we got information on the petition and the order. And the numbers will be done as Denise will add those on there. Today's date, A and B. So going back to a motion, I will, in the matter, I'll make a motion in the matter of cancellation of property taxes order number 3-18-15A to be approved.
Second it?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. That was in order. So now I need to do the petition on the same, that's order that you want. The petition gonna be numbered also.
No, you don't need, the petition is what leads to the order, so since you've already done the order, you can just move to the next petition.
The next petition.
There's the petition to do this, and then when you make the decision, that's your order.
So
you-
I done it backwards.
I would never say something.
Thank you for the guidance.
No, you did it very efficiently. All you have to do is go with the order.
Okay. So then, and they're worded just the same.
Yeah.
Yes, that's why we wanted to identify them separately or distinguish them from two different.
Okay, so I'll make a motion in the matter of cancellation of limit property taxes order number 3-18-15-B.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Or say aye.
That would count as well.
How about aye?
You're on the Canadian Commission.
I can't wait for that. I can't wait for the policy part of it. All right. I got legal advice at that. Pretty different. Motion carries.
I like it, I like
That's
it.
gonna stick for a long time, isn't it?
I like it.
Okay, so we don't have to do the petitions, is that correct? We're done with that
That is
one?
correct.
All right, that one was a struggle. The struggle is, I guess you want to sign it.
That'd be fantastic.
Okay, now we will move down to the courthouse office space request proposals. Mr. Berman, sir.
Hi, Dave.
Hi, Dave.
Brad.
Go ahead, Dave.
Like I meant, yesterday came in here and there's questions that Commissioner Withers had about construction of the plans that we have that would be able to build from the bottom to the top of the remodel of the old library. And as I had two contractors look at the plans and said, I went to them, I said, if you could build this, can you build it the way we want it from top to down and finished product? They looked at them and they said, yes, they could, with everything that's on the new plans.
We'll be turnkey, ready to go.
And I think there's perhaps just a couple more things to say in there, Dave, because we chatted about it yesterday too, that it's as built, they do what needs to be done. That's what they're gonna be getting quotes on. So they'll look at that and they'll, I don't remember the term you used yesterday, but.
It's a contractor design build.
Yeah.
So when the electrician comes in there, the contractor will get I'm using an electrician, come in there, and as they build, the contractor will say, okay, this is what we need in this room, plug in or whatever electrician does. So as they build, it's a design build. And that's the same with the mechanical, the engineering, and the stairways that we have. It's considered under a contractor's design build.
And that's the way we meet code and
Right.
the inspection for that. Okay. More questions?
I'll say,
Well, I'll make a motion, then Mr. Bailey, you,
Dave and I have gone over the format for RFPs before, and this continues the same sort of format. The only thing I'd note is that the first word in the RFP, Lake, for Lake County, is italicized, so you might want to just change that.
Okay. Well, we are sort of special.
Then you
Hey,
We're special all the time.
hey,
well, I think, and I just was looking at my notes from this, I think we need to say, because when you say turnkey ready, the facility under this part will be, but as Dave and I discussed yesterday, when he comes back after the closure of the request for proposals, he will come back having, I know Brad Brown's going to be doing a walkthrough on the IT side for internet, for phones. And we will also have a walkthrough and a bid for what it's gonna take for the security. And all of that will be done in the actual contract, not the RFP, but in the contract language, so the contractor knows they're gonna have to stop at some point to allow ACTEC and whoever our provider of the security cameras will be to come in and place their wiring and any other stuff that they need to do. And then we'll complete the building and then they'll do the final hookups. But we'll have that from a price standpoint, evaluation, we'll have that all when Dave comes back after the closure of this. So we can make a decision as to whether or not we're able to go forward.
will there be a completion date?
Yes, there will be.
And it's not in the RFP though?
It asks for time and, no, the actual time, no. Because it's hard to give them, when we make the contract, I'll get with the contractor and we'll discuss the things that we need done. And then we'll put a time frame on it then when we do the contract. That's what I've done in the past.
So we'll have the signed start and end date
Yes.
agreed upon before we sign the contract.
But it all be within the contract, is what you're saying?
So some questions should come up, I mean, just not to beat on this horse. But there'll probably be some questions from some of them that come up and say, we're gonna submit a bid, but we're hoping we don't have to start for 3 months, or we wanna not finish till Christmas or something.
And then we'll get some,
Well, we need to truly know what those acceptable dates are and timeframes. Okay, I'll make a motion that we do.
because we made it clear, and in the past, we did make it clear of working around schedules around the courthouse. And in this RFP and in the last RFP I did, we made it clear that you will have to work around hours of operation of the courthouse. So that's kind of in the past, that's kind of where we were.
Well, and it says here under number 3, may have substantial amount of work that needs to happen after 5 p.m. and before 8 a.m. as well as weekend work. Contractor will get prior approval for work that will occur during regular business hours that may be disrupted. I'll make a motion that we approve the outreach on the RFP for the Lake County Courthouse remodel.
I'll second the motion. Motion's been made and seconded to go out for request for proposals. The request for proposals for the construction, remodeling of the library space, the old library space. Further discussion?
Looking forward to getting that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, so,
Yes, Dave.
Now, just updated the airport on what you guys asked from us yesterday, kind of wanted to give you an
Oh,
update
yes.
on the engineering of the door. Tom got a call in, get that information, see what engineering it will take and the cost, if there is any more. But he hasn't heard nothing back as of right now. I talked to him before I come in here, so they're he doesn't have an update for you at this time.
Okay, on that, it is brought to us as an emergency, just, and I know he is, making sure that it's secured so nobody gets around to go up for any issues until we get information on the other part.
Yep.
All right,
Thank you, guys.
so we'll move back up to our 10:45 at 11 for a data security plan. And Mr. Bailey, you seem to be the lead by our agenda.
Well, no, not really. Brad Brown is the lead on it. There's a memo that introduces the project to the county and lists what the county needs to do. And then when you get to number 5 on that, that's where the work was done by the entire committee. And I could report on that. But essentially, Brad came forward with things that we had to do to make sure that there was adequate security for our data as well as our computing.
I'm sorry, looking for the memorandum, number 5 you're talking about. I don't believe we received.
That might have to do at the bottom.
Should have been that, it looks like this.
Yeah. No,
Yeah. Can't slip anything past the public. So what Brad came forward with was, and he can explain it, was a series of recommendations the county implement to create, maintain our security, both in our computer plans and our confidential data. So he has recommendations for that in terms of what the policy, what the county should implement. And then part of it, as you'll see that I can speak more specifically to, is number 5 on the memorandum, which are the policies that are included with the packet that address the specific information that is provided to employees and the policies that employees must follow during their work for the county. So, other than that, I think Brad can.
Yeah, I got a couple minutes. It is pretty boring stuff, but
But very necessary.
yeah, so that handout with the red on it, a little red data security plan. If you skip down a little ways there, it said, you know, the policies are basically are set up to help the county secure its data and control usage of the network. That's real key, and that's pretty much what we're after. And the confidential data that we're trying to take care of is, it says here most valuable to the county, but it's also data that needs to be protected either via federal or state requirements, such as HIPAA, ACA, CGIS requirements, that we need to protect that data. The mobile device policy, and if you look back on the memorandum, it's not just mobile devices. A mobile device could be a laptop, a tablet, or a cell phone. When we went through and talked to and saw how some of the departments are doing business that have confidential data that would fit in under these federal requirements or state requirements, it came to light the importance of protecting that data, and also an understanding of if there were ever any issues, the ramifications it would have on those mobile devices, whether it be a smartphone, an iPad, or a laptop. And being able to protect the county from the issues that come up with that. Now, the other side of that is not just mobile devices, but we also have to look at email as another issue, because a lot of the departments, whether it be health, mental health, district attorney, sheriff, and there's a lot of other departments, which was very surprising, VA,
where they actually have confidential data that they transmit to other entities via email. And we have to secure this data, meaning as the county, you're liable to secure that data. So, and we need to meet these federal state requirements. That's kind of why this whole project was started. And I'm just kind of reminding everybody what we're talking about here. Now, these wonderful, totally exciting committee meetings that we had as we went through these policies, and it was enlightening, was to come up with policies where we could actually manage this. And then, as this would work, and which we've done with other counties, as you as commissioners set the policies for the county, then we can prioritize, and if you look in your packet, there were some solutions there, estimated costs and so forth with the solutions. We need to prioritize those solutions after you set the policies, and then we can say, okay, per your policies, here are the solutions that we would recommend, and then you prioritize and say which one would be the most important for the county to take care of first. Am I on track here? So that's kind of the approach that we took. And the policies that we came up with have been reviewed, and I'll let Mr. Bailey take care of that side of it. But the policies are being presented to you to say, okay, this makes sense to us, and yeah, we would adopt these policies, and then we could move forward. Some of the other things that would happen is when we come up with the solutions, we're also going to be doing training with the various departments and users that would then be able to sign off on those policies, that they understand what they mean from a tech side. So at this juncture, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Bailey to present those policies, and I'm here to answer any questions that you have as we go through from the tech side.
Before you start, Mr. Bailey, just a quick question, Brad, on this list of committee's recommendations for priorities and estimated cost. How soon do we need to get started on that?
Well, it really falls on your adoption of the policies. If you say these are the policies and this is what we want to do, then we're going to tailor these solutions to it. I can tell you that some of these are very important. There are some departments where they could face a fine, a personal fine, if they're not protecting that data, and they're currently not. They didn't know that, but as we went through the process, we were able to figure out that really they're not. So they've kind of changed their process, but really we need to implement some of these so that doesn't happen.
So I'm gonna look for a recommendation. I sat in on one, and every going personally, I think we both are, for Mr. Bailey and Denise to.
The order in which they're presented on your form is the order in which the committee designated them.
Right.
But we didn't want to overstep it.
This particular.
We hope that you agree with us, but if you don't, we're fine with you.
Well,
Organizing.
you know, when we get into, well, and the priority list probably addresses the most urgent needs. But we just need to know if there's a cutoff point on urgent needs versus we need to consider doing all of them right now. You know, can it be a schedule?
Well, we can have it done tomorrow.
Well,
I'm just kidding, but, you know, the other thing we need to look at.
We might not be though. Can you have it done tomorrow?
Thanks, Brad, I knew that was coming. One of the things that just happened 2 weeks ago is a change in technology. And Microsoft that did that for us, and having been a Microsoft business partner for, I don't know, 30 years, they're really good at this, where they'll make a major change. And the reason they made the change, and it has to do with government compliance that I just mentioned before, HIPAA, AC, just compliance. They just made that change. And it would change how we approach one of these issues. Well, it just came to light like about a week and a half ago, and we haven't had a chance to really discuss it yet. But as far as something that we need to work on, that's something that Microsoft is now providing. It's not a big expense for the county, but it's something that we would do. So as we go through this and you adopt the policies, whatever they may be, then we're gonna look at this and say, how fast can we implement these? And you're gonna look at these and you're gonna say, which ones are the most important? We gave you our recommendations, but you may decide, you know what, internet usage is more important. Because if you have questions on these, we'll be more than happy to explain them to you and the ramifications and the users involved in some of these. You may decide we weren't on the right track. Doubtful, because Denise was in on it, but if that happened, then we could change the way we approach this.
So I'll go ahead and ask this question now, and it'll be later, this is one-time cost, whenever we get to it.
Some of these are, some of them you're gonna have a maintenance fee, but the maintenance fees are usually 10% or 20%, whatever that cost might be. So on internet tracking, it's $7,500. A continuing maintenance fee might be $500. So as we get into that and we solidify that, then I can give you firm numbers. But on all of these, you're not looking at a big maintenance fee that will continue on after that first year.
Not that big, you'll just absorb it then?
Not even.
Oh,
But
it got bigger, didn't it?
I have no respect here at all.
Well, I hate for you to speak for us, because 500 is a lot.
But in the scheme of things, like I say, other than a maintenance fee, no, it's a one-time shot.
Okay.
But to give you an idea on email encryption, or when we get into data encryption, to keep that encryption up to date, because there's people trying to break that encryption every day, 7/24. You need to have an annual maintenance plan, so they change the encryption daily, so people can't break that encryption. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Because there's always hackers out there that are trying to crack encryptions and so forth. So there is a maintenance fee on those types of things. And that's why I'm saying there would be maintenance fees, but usually they're not that big of a fee.
Is it nervous?
No, I'm trying to be careful here.
So we interrupted Mr. Bailey, I
Not at all. I didn't even start. My role, as we went forward with this, was just as part of the committee that Denise organized and made sure we were on task. We started this back in December and went through several drafts of proposed policy language that Mr. Brown brought to us. And what you have in front of you is the result of the committee reviewing the proposed policies, both in terms of what needed to be in the policy, as well as how it could be expressed clearly to employees so they understood exactly what their responsibilities were. Very briefly, if you look at the largest one, which is really the central policy document, which is the acceptable use policy, if you look down the first page, number 3, which is general, states general principles, there are 3 general principles that go on, and these are not surprising. County property may only be used for county business. County computer systems may only be used for county business. County employees may not conduct or participate in illegal activities. Those hardly needed to be said, but we put those in so that all of the details that follow, when there are quite a few, there would not be any confusion as to what people were being required to adhere to. So we have very general statements that just reiterate what everyone already knows, and then after that, the rest of the document details everything that we could possibly think of, relying on Brad's expertise and experience, that would create an acceptable use policy for the employees. The idea being, of course, employees must do this. If they don't do this, then they are subject to discipline. depending on the severity of failing to follow the policy, the discipline would be according. They would be disciplined accordingly. Then we have two other policies. One is confidential data policy. This really supplements the first one, which is the acceptable use policy, as does the last, which is the mobile device policy. That will not necessarily apply to everyone, and so it's the smallest, but the reason it's the smallest is because it really supplements the acceptable use policy. Then at the end, you have in your packet the policy acknowledgement form, which will be presented to every employee, indicating that they have read and understand the policies that are indicated on this sheet, which would be acceptable use, confidential data, mobile device, and if there's another one that we have that's more specialized, we can include that later.
On that, as I interrupt you, go on here, should this, and I haven't read it, should it state anything that this supersedes anything in our handbook or any other policies that are presumed or out there?
No,
Our handbook does talk about some occasional use of the internet and different things, so this really should supersede everything, correct?
We probably should amend the handbook to take that out, rather than have even something that supersedes that. To have it existing in two different places and have it be in any conflict would be a bad idea.
How soon can you have that handbook rewritten?
I'll rewrite it as I drive back to Ben today.
He's faster than I am.
Well, if people are studying our handbook.
It's an excellent point. We did not talk about the handbook at all. So I'm glad you raised it, because we would want to review the handbook and remove anything that's in conflict.
If you want an experience from other counties, some counties have taken this and actually made it part of the employee handbook. Others have made an addendum to whatever you guys
have that discussion with our HR and needs to, so that when it happens, because some will happen eventually with the techie world. An employee should go and say, well, handbook states that.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
Yes, you're exactly right. Last thing I'll say about the policy acknowledgement form is that it refers to these documents. This acceptable use policy is 13 pages. I think what we would want to do is to have sessions with various departments or combination of departments in which they're allowed to bring this in. This has been distributed to them. They come in and they can ask questions about anything that's in this. Because some of the things are quite specific, and there are things that really Brad and Bob probably are the only ones who know all of what these terms are. The rest of us know some of them. So I think you would want to have a session in which someone would say, well, yeah, I did sign this policy acknowledgement form, and I knew what was in this because we did have a session in which I could ask these questions.
So you're talking an all-employee meeting?
Well, and it doesn't have to be all at once, but yeah, everybody should at least have the opportunity to come in and say, I did read this, I don't understand what section 13 means.
Trying to think, I like that, I'm trying to think how to make that happen, if it would be, take a long time, but if they just went from department to department.
Well, we kind of talked about holding it in 2 different days and having half the department come one day and half the department come the other day. It's important that everybody, it needs to be a mandatory training. Everybody needs to sit in on it and understand what risks they have by using our equipment and by doing things they are not supposed to do. That was just one option, though. It might take way too long to go department by department, is what we were thinking, but
one of the other things we'd like to do too is during that discussion period and answering questions is maybe demonstrate on the computer some of the issues. Some basic training on the computer, what we're talking about. so they could actually see, and we'd have the TV or whatever set up, so we could have a group of people and go through that.
So who all would put on this training? Who all would be involved?
Well, I think Jim ought to do it. I'm just kidding.
It would be shorter.
That would be,
I thought you said Jimmy, he's asleep.
oh, okay. I
He's
do.
been on his mobile device.
I'm sorry. It's been a long day already, but basically, we would be there to help, and I think Denise would be good, and I don't know, Jim, if you'd want to be involved in that, but
Well, the only legal aspect of it is that we want to make sure that no one signs the acknowledgement form and then later says, well, I signed it, but I had no idea what these terms meant.
right.
So,
So that's why we
I
have
like the idea of two
training.
different meetings being mandatory, gives options for the department heads to get the employees there.
Correct.
I think it should be very structured, an agenda, and a question answering time, so that basically you're in charge full-time, Brad.
Yeah, and,
Bob.
go ahead.
A missing component maybe in that discussion is HR, because once the training is done, you have new employees in and then employees offboarding.
Absolutely.
And I know one of the things Brad and I talked about in looking at training is how can we best support the risk management department's training of these things on behalf of the county, and we need to be able
Yeah.
to support that.
HR.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's.
I mean, it's, that's a big component in the process.
That is the component.
The other thing that we're doing in another county, just as a idea, is as technology changes and things change in policy compliance, they're looking at an annual training for changes if there are any, but they're also gonna do a certificate of training. That does two things. Besides having a copy of this, they'll have a certificate saying they did the training on this date and it was completed. So they'll know, and we have a couple of sources to go back and say, oh, they did complete the training on this date. And what they've found over the years is the people, for some reason, just having that certificate means something to them, and they're gonna wanna participate in that training, if that makes sense. So, it's just something that other counties are doing, and then maybe that's something we may want to implement here. And we're open. I think another thing we talked about too is there's always gonna be somebody who's not gonna be able to make those trainings. Then they could come down and have training one-on-one or whatever we need to do to make sure everybody gets the training.
So, just a question, if we were gonna do mandatory training, would that be the appropriate time to have them sign as they go through the training? Or go ahead, if we adopted this policy today and approved it and everything, go ahead and have people start signing it, what's the best?
yeah, I think the way you do it is, the first step is that the policies are distributed and everyone is to read the policies. Then they have to attend the training session where they can ask any questions about, I'm not sure what this section meant, can you tell me? And then after that, at the conclusion of the training session, they sign this.
Yeah.
Now,
Then we'll kick a certificate if you want to do that.
and now then, the way I understand it, if we adopt these policies today, they become effective immediately.
That's true.
So there would be some time in there that there could be, somebody could do something that they haven't signed it or whatever.
And
and still
so
have
we're gonna
policy.
try and get the training as quickly as we can, as soon as you
That
can.
is true. It would be difficult for them to take that position because of the way I worded this, which is the general principles are you do county business, you only use county property for county business, and you don't do anything illegal. It's very hard to get around those by saying, well, I didn't understand those. So, yeah, you're right. There would be a time when they would not know the specifics of the policies, but it's very, that's the reason I wrote it that way, is that no one could say, I didn't understand that.
Okay.
Then the last thing there is the security incident report. This is just to, when someone notices that something has happened that they think is maybe in violation of the policy, whether it's intentional or accidental, the policy is filled out, and then the decision that may be made is based on a review. You see in the back, it's reviewed by the assistant to the board, human resources, and department head. as part of that process, it could be that someone simply made a mistake. There was an accident or something like that, and it's not a big deal, but we have an incident report that covers it. At the same time, by going through that process, you may have something that occurs, that we have a serious issue here, someone has intentionally violated the policy, and now the board must take action for disciplinary reasons. So, but that's the way all these things work together. We have a memorandum about what needs to be done, the financial as to what should be done in terms of priorities, then the specifics of the policies, the acknowledgement form that make sure everyone knows it, and then the reporting process to make sure that the policies are actually carried out and implemented over time.
So Denise, were you hoping that this would be approved today?
It's okay if it's not, but.
Well, I mean, I know it says for possible action, yeah. I have a quick sideline question. Denise, I'd gotten these ahead of time, and I've been trying to go through them. But there's only one of the policies that's under mobile devices that specifically talks about auditing the equipment.
Yeah, it wouldn't be, we did find a solution where we can encrypt information on mobile phones or tablets or laptops, which would meet some federal requirements. However, there are some issues where we probably need to take a look every now and then and actually do an audit on mobile devices and see what the people are using them for.
Well, I'll use this example, Brad. Someone has a smartphone. They have an icon for their county email.
Okay?
And everything, I'll just use me, since I got this out. Everything I do on here is recorded on my county email. I mean, when I come in, anything that I've sent shows up as sent on my computer in my office. So, other than that, this is my phone. I don't get any financial gain or benefit from it. I just use it for my own personal use, and I do my email.
Okay.
So under that example.
Then you would be doing county business because you are responding to email. Let me give you an example.
So with that, I do take a stipend for mine.
Yeah.
He doesn't.
Yeah, but see, then
It's
he's
the
still
same no matter
doing
what, I
county
believe.
business
But-
on his cell phone.
But what I'm saying is that nothing I do on here doesn't show up on my computer.
No, but you are doing business by responding on that email on your cell phone, you are doing county business. That's how I would take it, and the instance that I would use.
But by audit this piece of,
Yeah.
this device whenever it's on the other device.
Yeah, and see, even if it is your personal phone, and I think I told you the story before, because this just happened late last year. A district attorney in a county here in Oregon, and I know because I went through it with her. She had a personal phone, she did not receive a stipend from the county, and she responded to an email in an ongoing investigation. What happened to her cell phone?
It was confiscated.
It was confiscated because she had conducted county business on her personal cell phone. She had family pictures, she had personal information, all her contacts were in that cell phone. She may get it back in a year, if she's lucky, 2 probably. She was very upset, and we had a nice conversation, and after that she has 2 cell phones. She has a county cell phone and she has her personal cell phone. And that's a tough lesson to learn if you're thinking that you're not doing county business by responding to an email, because that's all she did. Now, on your cell phone, a lot of people don't understand on these smartphones, every email, every text, everything that you do is on here. And it doesn't go anywhere but here. If somebody hacked that cell phone, you lost your cell phone, they have access to all of that data. So if it's confidential data that is important to the county or is federally required that we protect that data, it's actual confidential data, and you lose that cell phone and so, or somebody hacks that cell phone, you could be liable here at the county. So I guess,
Well, and Brad, you're not the one making up the rules or the
No,
laws.
not
but
at all.
I-
Not at
This
all.
just seems incredibly weird, that if I were to send an email that was something I shouldn't have responded to or whatever, and someone comes in and says, we know that's your cell phone, we know you're not receiving any financial stipend for it, etc. I would suggest to them, we walk in my office and I set the phone down beside my laptop and say, everything that's on my phone in my county email is here. Here, take my laptop.
But it's not limited to just your
No.
email, it's your text messages, it's anything and everything. You take a picture when you're out with the roadmaster.
Yeah, let me follow up on the example that Brad gave of the individual had their phone confiscated. The phone is gonna be confiscated anyway, because they're not gonna simply take her word for it that she did not conduct any county business on. Now, it may be pretty quick that they look at it and say, oh, she doesn't even have the app that allows her to access the county, so here's your phone back 3 weeks later. But they're gonna confiscate it anyway. That's gonna happen.
Well, I would think they would take her second phone, because you're doing,
They very well might.
some of, people call you on your personal
Mhm.
cell phone that is associated with county business. And I would say she's still at,
She's more likely to get it back in a bigger hurry though, her second phone.
it all depends on what the.
I'll give you the example. This is the way law enforcement is gonna look at anything like this. They're going to assume that if they feel they need to look at your phone, they have to assume that you're a really bad guy, and that you may have accessed your email, looked at an attachment that may say involves a personnel issue, and then you moved that attachment and saved it to another program on your phone, which you then downloaded and used in another fashion inappropriately. That is the way they will think. They won't think, well, okay, sure, it's all still. They won't do that. That's gonna be your response, and it may turn out that's the way it goes, but they are not going to think that.
Well, if they spent a little bit of time with me, they'd know why you're all that stuff. So, it would remove.
well, let me
hear that every day.
let me throw one more out here. I have a friend who's an FBI agent here in Oregon, and he actually is over this area in Oregon. I asked him the same question. His response was, he stood up, he pulled one phone out of one pocket, another phone out of the other pocket. He says, this is how the FBI handles it. Personal phone, business phone. And I thought, because they have a lot of the same requirements, and then some, that we do. Meaning if there's any confidential data that needs federal or state protection, we need to protect that data. And that's what this is all about. How do we secure that data?
The cell phone world is wild and crazy as
Oh.
technology keeps going. I still say even with the FBI guy, depending on the potential crime, they're gonna take both of them.
Well, let's put it this way, just to give you an example, what Microsoft did in January 1, the ACA hit, the Obamacare, Affordable Care Act. The ACA brought new issues to light as far as government is concerned in protecting that data. So what Microsoft did is, after January 1 came, they said, how are we going to handle this? And so what they did is they took all the email that you're currently on Microsoft email, right, 365. They said, what we're going to do is create a government, just a separate U.S. government area of email that we are going to build specifically to meet all the federal requirements. And that just happened. I mean, they just got it done like 2 weeks ago. And so now what we're looking at is migrating you into this government pool where we meet all the new federal requirements and regulations that came out in January. Your cell phones, who would have told me 2 years ago I'd be able to do the things that I could do on my smartphone?
See, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
that it's not a phone.
No.
It's a computer
It's-
that you can use to make a phone call with.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's not a phone.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
on Dan's question, it's in there on mobile devices to have them audited. Is there anything in there for stationary PCs to be audited?
Yeah, we're gonna audit those all the time. That'll be one of the solutions we have in
It's not
here.
spelled out in there, but
Yeah, it's one of the
I haven't
solutions
read
I
every
have,
one
yeah.
of it, but I would think that it should be spelled out so that people that's sitting at their desk knows that they could be audited at any time.
Yeah, and actually it is spelled out in there that.
Yeah, there's,
Okay,
it just
yeah,
doesn't have a
but, I mean-
section that says audits.
If you look at some of the things like internet usage and tracking, we'd be tracking real time what was happening on the internet usage. When it says network usage tracking, we're gonna be tracking real time what's happening on the PCs. Who's logging on, what files are they looking at? I mean, we'll have all kinds of reports and stuff that we can review.
Okay, so, where you're gonna be doing that, you're gonna be tracking. So whenever there's a red flag, who do you report to and what are you gonna do?
And that's a great question, because we talked about this in our meetings, because there should be a process. Now,
Absolutely.
if we find out, our immediate report person would be Denise. And then Denise would go from there, whether to go to Jay or bring it to Jim or to you as far as how we set up that tracking. Now, if a department head said, because what we can do, which we are doing in some other counties, is we're producing these reports. Before we reviewed the reports, and then the HR person said, no, that really should be the department head reviewing and managing their own employees. And so we went on and started handing them to the department head. Well, the department head looks and said, hey, so-and-so is looking at porn on company time, on county time, and they shouldn't be doing that. And of course, the sheriff wasn't real happy. So they don't report to us other than we need to filter that computer or do whatever. But then they would go to somebody else, whether it's HR probably, and then to commissioners to see how they would take care
I'm a
of that
believer
issue.
in ownership of the department heads too. They're the ones that directly supervise employees. They're the ones that need to be held accountable for, it's a management tool. It keeps people on task, keeps them working.
And the way we've set it up is that no one person makes a decision that this is either okay or not. It's going to go to several people who will look at it and say, whoa, this is either a problem or it isn't.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
Tech will use that same incident form.
Yep.
And on there, I will initial it, Igor will initial it, and the department head will initial it.
If I want to look at any time, how do I say I have a department, I hear rumors and I want to review usage, am I allowed to do that as commissioner? Is the department head allowed to do that? What's the,
Well, before we approve this.
What's the
we
county's
make sure it's-
policy on how you're gonna manage your policy?
Yeah.
We're just providers of information. How you wish to use the information is your internal.
The only fun part of this for us is, a lot of times, if somebody was doing something malicious on a computer.
we had a geek say fun.
Okay, if they did something malicious on the computer, they were downloading viruses on purpose, or they were doing something of that nature, we're gonna find that first. I mean, we're gonna be the guys, or Bob's gonna be touching it, or one of us are gonna be touching that computer, and we're gonna see the red flag's gonna go up, and we're going, wait a minute. We're gonna fill out that form, give it to Denise, and she'll go to the proper channels. Other than that, I don't know, I like that
I
the
think it's-
department head seems to be working at the other county.
right, I think it's like anything else. If someone is not doing their job, or if someone is inappropriately using a county vehicle, the information comes back to you, and I assume that you would either act on it, or you would turn to the department head and say, you got a problem with Frank, not this Frank.
This is Ray. Promise Ray.
You have a problem.
You can call him Ray.
Ray.
Yeah.
So, but the real layer to this that's different is that there's monitoring that's gonna be going on through IT services, where they're going to find something that is a potential security breach and then bring it to our attention. Everything else is gonna flow the way it would normally flow.
Okay, so I have to ask this question. Elected officials
Yes.
in this policy. Did you have any discussion there?
You know, we have, and you and I haven't talked about that, but I've been through that where an elected official sent out an email that was inappropriate. He's since retired. But the email was not good. I mean, it was really funny, but it was very inappropriate.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, okay. So how was that handled? Well, there are things that in that particular case that the county was able to do to that elected official, such as rescinding their medical coverage and doing all kinds of things that could be punitive to that individual. And that's something that you'd have to look at. But they were able to take some repercussions legally to help enforce the policy, so that individual knew that it was important that they comply with county policy. So there are some things and some steps that I didn't know that you can take, because they did. Yeah,
We're gonna take a 5-minute break.
sure.
He's gonna turn off his computer.
I think I'll go plus.
He's on Facebook, he's gonna exit real quick.
Gotta get out of this thing, before this is over.
When we come back, we have a cell phone policy and we have a stipend policy. It seems the right direction. I just want to have a little bit of that discussion.
Might
The
still
cell
have
phone-
to.
It's
Just
what we
don't
live
follow
by.
over.
Oh, yeah?
What we live by. Absolutely. Well, okay. And with that, we've varied quite a few different directions. This is about policy. I did want to have some conversation about how this, either our cell phone stipend policy and use, if there was discussion about that, and we can talk about cell phones.
Well, I think the simple answer is that it doesn't make a difference anymore whether or not you have a stipend. If you, the point of the stipend was to defer the fact that someone needed to have a cell phone as part of their county business. But now anybody who uses their cell phone, their personal cell phone for any county business, it's still gonna be covered by this anyway. So whether you get a stipend or you don't, if you're using that device for county business, it's still gonna be covered by this policy.
What about video recorders? Can we confiscate?
I'm not even going there, that's out of my realm.
It is downloaded to a computer they can access through them.
That's
I
right.
think we definitely wanna edit out the A, don't we?
Yes, Bob?
A comment in the whole, in the coma, I'm so happy. In the confidential data, I mean, there's been a lot of discussion about HIPAA requirements and personnel information, all that. The added component for you to keep in mind is this is a public entity, so there are public records laws above and beyond all those that apply too. So if you're using a device that has records, whether it's a text or an email, that's a public record. You know, so we talk about confidential and we think, well, certain departments aren't going to deal with social security numbers or credit card numbers, so it's probably not a big deal. It's still a public record if that's how they're conducting business. And that fits into this whole picture, which is why it's applicable to everyone who's a public servant.
You know, I'll give you an example that's just as simple. You know, you could be checking your email and there's something that bothers you and you send a text to Commissioner Winter saying, you might want to check your email. But that's a public record. That's county business. You just communicated something to another official. He's gonna receive it on his phone and it's like, there's a little link there.
It's the way we operate. It's not just, it's private business, it's government, it's everything. The technology world has changed so much, and so it's basically really user-friendly. It really is.
Yeah.
And the liability's just starting to catch up to it.
You know, it's, yeah. We're gonna put one of those chips in Bob's neck so we can keep him. If he gets lost, we'll find him and put him back.
Just clap.
Lights off, lights off. Hey? Bob, you shouldn't engage with it.
It's pretty wild in here,
Yes, it
I
is.
can tell you.
So,
It's my legal recommendation that you adopt the policy as soon as possible. It's not critical to do it today, but the quicker you act, the better.
Well, I see no reason not to adopt it today, Commissioner.
yeah.
feel differently.
As part of it, I
I
think
guess,
you
I
also
thought
want
you
to
were
give
gonna
us
say what
direction.
took them so long to get to this point.
Well, I do commend
Again, you're not
Denise
getting
for
any respect that
organizing
time.
and being involved in all of it, and Brad and Bob and Jay and Mr. Bailey and anyone else that might have participated, because when we talk about something this significant, this involved, and you just started in December, that's very
I will
commendable.
add one thing, these policies, throughout our discussions, we did talk about the fact that they are gonna have to be reviewed annually. Our technology changes so
Sure.
quickly that we're gonna be amending and changing, but just so you know, we will keep an eye on it and update as needed.
Did you want to explain anything else to the public that's not here in attendance?
Tuesday.
Touche.
Copy.
Hey?
Copy.
Copy.
Entertain a motion, sir.
I will, do we accept these in their entirety or as individual?
I think you make a single motion to accept the following policies, and then I'll just read the names of the policies.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we accept the new, the presented and new county policies on mobile device, confidential data, and acceptable use policies as presented.
I'll second the motion. Motion's been made and seconded as stated. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Same as what Commissioner Shum said. Thanks everybody for working on this. So now we need to prioritize the data security committee review and this part here with the numbers attached to it will be our next.
And I'm prepared right now, and I think, well, you can speak for yourself, Commissioner, but to accept the prioritization, we just need to get some additional advice on how far down we go right now, or do we go all the way to the bottom? The priorities look fine to me.
Yeah, the only thing that I would add on there that isn't on there, and I'll get in trouble for this, but it just happened a week and a half ago. Microsoft changed, and I explained the spin-off. We need to convert your current email to the government email pool. And that would be a project for us that we'd have to do on a weekend or a night or something like that. And that's not on here because I didn't know.
So
And they didn't have it ready, and now they do, and that's something that we're gonna have to review every year. What are they doing?
Denise, you have dollars within this budget year to start implementing these.
The technology budget is a little out of alignment due to our server crash. It will require a resolution during the next month or so anyway, so
Okay.
that's,
Well, if we know that up front, whenever we approve, then that's what we need to do to accept that.
we just add that to that resolution. And any of
Well,
these dollars.
I have a few more questions, but yes, we would need to add the dollar amounts that would be necessary. You have the priority list, and I'm with Commissioner Shum to follow that. If we said, do it all, get it done, what's your time frame?
I would say probably about 6 months.
Really?
Yeah, it just
But
takes.
that, my naive, knowing what it takes to implement these
Yeah,
things.
some of these are just our time, however, some of the other ones are software and our time. And so it's weekends and nights on us working on your system and off time, and just a lot of hours, just hours to set it up.
With that said, if you would say what ones would be done within our budget year, which is through June 30th, then the resolution would only have to cover that amount of dollars within this budget year, and then she would budget for the other part. So if you could get that to Denise, then our resolution at the end of the year would reflect that, I guess.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. We need to get with Denise anyway on projects, so this would just be something we can figure out.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to accept the Data Security Committee recommendation priorities with estimated cost. And with those estimated costs, Brad Brown will get with Denise and not prioritize, but show the ones that will be implemented within this budget year. And we will accept that we'll be doing a resolution to cover those costs.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Mr. Bailey, does that cover everything we need to do for policies, this, and
Yes.
as far as motion goes?
Yeah, by consensus, I'll also review the county handbook for changes and come back with recommendations on that.
Okay, thank you on that. I think that's an important part.
So let's just be clear on how we're going to then move forward with the informational sessions and signing off and everything, because who knows which might actually be done truly first. And people need to be aware of what's going on, so.
Well, now that you have adopted those policies, we can start building some training around that, which helps us a lot. And so we can work with Denise on that and do.
And the
if you
policies
wanna
will be
review.
circulated immediately.
Yeah, that was what I was going to say.
Yeah, but as far as we're concerned, now we know what we can train on, and maybe we can run that by you, Jim. And we do that, make sure we
When
don't
you
miss.
send out those policies, would you, for the soft touches, because they're going to create a whole bunch of possible anxiety of what if they approved it, now what do we do? Is that we've approved it, they're in place, and there will be trainings in the near future.
Why don't I draft it and send it to the peer review and legal?
Yeah, I mean, the reality is, I mean, there's certain things that I think regardless of federal law, we would want to do, but I think more importantly, people need to know this committee and the board of commissioners didn't dream this up to be a gotcha. It's, we're trying to get up to date on what law says we need to be doing to protect all of us.
It's for their protection as much as it's for the county's protection.
Yep.
And I was thinking about on that training, we should probably pass that around the committee first, huh?
Sure.
So then Jay and Denise can have input on it too, and make sure we get all our bases covered. And then, I don't know if you wanna see what we come up with before we
Make it happen.
make it happen.
I'm not much for board committee meetings or
Okay.
anything, make it happen.
Cool.
I like when government's not in the way and you become part of the solution, not the problem. All right. Great.
Thank you.
We'll
Thank you.
move on down our agenda.
I'll get with you on a time when.
Thanks for the work, the committee, and you guys.
Yes,
Thank
we'll
you very
go
much.
to sheriff probably till 1 o'clock or so.
Okay. I
So
see.
you wanna just hunt us down after that?
Okay, we have legal updates, Mr. Bailey.
Okay.
Legal updates for,
Do you wanna just paint us in?
No, we've covered everything that was, that had been on my plate the past month, the past 2 months. So nothing for public or executive session.
okay, there's been nothing more there. Do you have any
Legal updates?
anything else? Then we will adjourn at 5 minutes to 12.